Okay, wonderful. Good morning, everyone. I'm Pekgün from the University of South Carolina. Ovunc was going to present. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to present. He's still here with us online. And so it's a pleasure to be here today. And thanks again a lot to Andrew for organizing this great session, this great workshop. And it's my pleasure to present our work on hotel standby upgrade programs. And this is joint work with, as I mentioned, it's Ovunc's main, his main work from his dissertation, as well as my colleague, Mark Ferguson from the University of South Carolina and Guangzhi Shang from the Florida State University. So the talk is about hotel standby upgrades, and this is a program that has recently been adapted by many hotel chains. The Nor1 is the industry provider for the standby upgrades, now under the umbrella of Oracle. Basically, before I tell you about our research, let me explain how it works. So suppose that I want to book a hotel, and so I'm going to the hotel's website. I look at the presented options to me. I see this guest room and junior suite. The guest room is at $99 and junior suite is at $159. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe I don't want to pay $159. It's too much for me. So I'm just going to go with the guest room, the standard guest room. So I select this one. And then here's what happens. I see this confirmation screen. And then I complete my reservation, book my reservation. And in the next screen, I actually see a banner ad showing that I might be eligible for a special room upgrade for only $15. That sounds interesting, so let me check it out. Now I'm presented with a couple of upgrade options, and especially the one that I would like you to pay attention to is the second one, the junior suite. This was the one actually I was considering at the beginning, but instead of that $60 differential from my standard room, it's actually offered at a discount at $45 only. Okay, so that sounds interesting. Let me request it. And so here's what happens. Once I request it, I learn whether I get the upgrade or not. It will be subject to the availability at the hotel. So I only learn about whether I get the upgrade or not when I'm checking into the hotel. Basically what happens is that either maybe the upgrade is available, so I get to enjoy my junior suite and I'm automatically charged that $45. But if not, I don't actually lose anything from my original booking. I still get to keep my standard guest room and I'm not charged anything. About it from the perspective of the hotels, or the way that the offerings that Nor1 positions this with is, well, first of all, hotels can be, can have high occupancy rates maybe for their standard rooms, but selling that premium room inventory is always challenging. So it is a way that hotels can monetize the leftover premium room inventory that might otherwise go unsold. In addition, some add-on services like parking, spa, breakfast, internet, so creating awareness for such services. It could help with advertising room features, such as a city view, ocean view, corner room. And overall, hopefully it will result in improving guest satisfaction and loyalty. So we were fortunate enough to work with a hotel chain in this project. And when we were hearing about, so this was, of course, a while back when standby upgrades were becoming really prominent, but not that widely applied yet. So this hotel chain was just getting into it. The corporate was trying to get all the franchisees to implement it. But what we heard from the hotel chain, these individual hotels, was that they were worried about some strategic behavior. They understood all the pluses that this was offering, but at the same time, they were worried about, well, what if we trained a customer to always go for this discounted upgrade route and do not buy the premium room from the start? So can we actually, will we cannibalize our premium room sales? So this was our motivation for this research. That's how things started. We wanted to understand the impact of it, as well as whether hotels should change anything in their existing strategies if they wanted to incorporate standby upgrades. So we did two papers in this area. Our first paper was an analytical paper, which was published in Manufacturing and Service Operations Management in 2017. So there we wanted to understand, when can standby upgrade programs provide additional value over traditional revenue management practices. Essentially, I will get into the details a little more, but assuming that there could be customers who are more myopic versus strategic, that really gets trained for these upgrades, what should be our pricing strategy for the full price of premium room versus the standby upgrades? And then the second one, in the second research topic, it was still related with that, but this time we wanted to, it was more of an empirical work using the data set from the hotel chain partner. And we wanted to understand which hotel and market characteristics bring the most benefit from standby upgrade programs. We really wanted to understand the extent of the strategic behavior that might exist in these hotels so that they can devise strategies accordingly. So with that, let me jump in to the research. So the first main concept that I should talk about is, so how do we define myopic versus strategic guest behavior for hotels? So the myopic guest behavior, when I say myopic guest, we're talking about guests who immediately make a decision based on their valuation. So essentially, so we here in this graph, we see kind of axis depicts the valuation from the differential. And this is a standby upgrade price, and this is the full price for the premium room. So if my willingness to pay is less than it's the price of the standby upgrade is actually higher than my valuation, what am I going to do? I'm not going to request a standby upgrade. So I'm just going to go with my standard room. If my valuation is higher than the standby upgrade, but less than the full premium room price, I will request a standby upgrade. And if I'm actually willing to pay even higher than the premium room price, then I will go with the premium room. Now, what is different about strategic guests is that they are smart. So they have experience with standby upgrade programs. They have observed prices over time. So they can actually form a belief on the award rate. So what is the likelihood that I'm going to get the premium room if I go through the standby upgrade option? So with that, you can see that there is here a boundary that for strategic guests. So they might either a larger region be observed for standby upgrades based on they again do an expected valuation calculation based on the belief on the award rate versus not being able to get it through the standby upgrade. So strategic guests in our setting, unlike more classical literature on strategic strategic behavior, we do not define it as in more of an intertemporal decision. It's more about strategic guests are those who may be savvy enough to initially choose a standard room over a premium room. So they will be less likely to initially book a premium room, would be curious to see the standby upgrade price, and so more likely to request a standby upgrade offer if they click on the banner ad. So this is very different from the buy now versus wait decision that is commonly studied. So I won't get into the details of our analytical model because I want to talk more about the empirical work in this talk. But the main takeaway from our analytical paper was the optimal pricing strategies for hotels, assuming that all of our guests are myopic or all of our guests are strategic. So what we found in our models is that if you have all myopic guests, the hotel should offer higher premium room differential with aggressive discount for standby upgrade. But the hotel should be careful about doing this for strategic guests, because then everybody might go to the standby upgrade option. So for all, if we have strategic guests in our hotel, either we should not offer standby upgrades if the demand is not strong enough for premium rooms, or we should offer a lower premium room differential. So the initial full price is actually less than what we offer to myopic guests, but also we offer a small discount for the standby upgrade. So it's essentially the price for the standby upgrade is much higher than what we offer to the myopic guests. So after we observed this, we were curious about, well, in real world, in reality, probably not all of our guests are myopic, or they are strategic. So either or probably won't apply. The extent of strategic behavior would matter. So based on that, we thought about, well, again, in a typical hotel, some customers may not be aware of the standby upgrades, or simply not choose to reason through the options based on probabilities and prices when making decisions. So who would be a good sample for those for such customers? And we thought these non-repeat guests, loyalty program of the hotels. So if somebody is really, if I want to go always with Hilton or Marriott, I would sign up for the loyalty program. Then I would try to accumulate points going to that hotel. I would be able to observe the prices over time for that hotel. So I would be very familiar. But if I'm not a loyalty member, I'm more of a not one-off customer. So we thought the non-loyalty group of guests for a hotel would constitute that uncontaminated myopic group. Whereas the loyalty customers are, again, the repeat customers. They are able to observe, but essentially we cannot say that they will be fully strategic, or every loyalty guest will be strategic. So there's probably some loyalty guests who are myopic and some loyalty guests who are strategic. So how do we differentiate the two within the loyalty group? We look for the characteristics that we mentioned. So if a guest is strategic, they will be less likely to initially book a premium room, but more likely to request a standby upgrade offer if they indeed click on the banner ad. So with that, here's how our estimation process works. So again, our main question is, what is the percentage of strategic guests in the loyalty member population? So this alpha percent is the percentage of strategic guests. 1 minus alpha, the remaining part would be those more myopically behaving guests. So, well, before I talk about the estimation steps, let me describe our data set. So again, we were very lucky with thanks to our hotel partner, we got a really nice data set from 8 hotels over 16 months. And this data showed both guest booking data as well as standby upgrades data. So essentially, we were able to see which hotel did the guest book in, what was the booking date, arrival, departure dates. Initially, did they book a standard room or a premium room? What was the price they booked at? Whether they are a member of the loyalty program of the hotel. And after that, based on the standby upgrade that was shown, that banner ad pretty much, did they click on the banner ad? So did they show interest? And then once they clicked on, did they request it? So if they requested the standby upgrade, what was it for? Because as I mentioned, there are also non-room upgrade type of standby upgrades. But if it is for a premium room upgrade, which is what we are interested in, what was the price, the full price of that premium room upgrade versus what was the standby upgrade, the discounted standby upgrade that was offered? And based on that, did they request it? So again, did they click on the banner ad? Once they saw the offer, did they request it? So it was essentially giving us a really nice data set to come up with our estimation methodology. And we were also able to see if the guest initially actually requested a premium room or booked a premium room. In that case, of course, the standby upgrade would not apply. So here is now let's get into the our methodology. So we use the sequential logit model on non-loyalty guests, this uncontaminated myopic sample, to estimate the coefficients for each step in the decision-making process. So what are the different decisions? The first decision is whether I should go with a premium room or a standard room. And there will be multiple factors that might affect that, like how many days in advance I'm booking, what's the length of stay, does my stay include a Saturday night stay, and so on. So a bunch of factors. So this is my booking decision. The second step in the sequential decision making is assuming that I booked a standard room, then did I click on that banner ad? Did I show interest in the banner ad? So again, this is conditional on booking a standard room, so all the premium reservations are discarded here. Again, a bunch of factors that could determine that. And the last part in the decision making is, well, once I see the offer, do I actually request it? Do I pick it? And in this case, we also have this price variable included because this is the first time I'm actually seeing the price of the standby upgrade offer. So that is also gets into the estimation process. So once we basically have this, the next step is finding the, based on these estimated coefficients, we find the predicted probabilities for the myopic loyalty guests. And the thing is, in the loyalty group, as I mentioned, so we can, using the same coefficients, we can predict their probabilities, but this group contains also this non-myopic group, which would have different coefficients that is different from the myopic sample. So we need to do simultaneous estimation of both the fraction of the non-myopic guests as well as their coefficients, using what we have estimated from the myopic guest sample, and we use maximum likelihood estimation for that. So, and once we do that, we find the predicted conditional probabilities for loyalty customers acting non-myopically. I'm again saying non-myopic, not strategic, because yet we do not know if the behavior that we see is actually going to be consistent with what we expect for strategic customers. So we can then compare the predicted probabilities between the two groups, myopic versus non-myopic, and then conclude whether this non-myopic group is strategic or not. So I will now show you the numerical results, but I should also mention that we did test for two types of strategic behavior. One is more liberal, a weak form. We just require familiarity with the program only. The second one is strong form. So for this strong form strategic behavior to be detected, we say the guest should be familiar with the program, should be always checking the standby upgrade offers, and should be even considering daily demand in standby upgrade award chances, those probabilities. So the strong form is the smartest type of strategic guest. Okay, let me jump into our results in the interest of time. What you see in this table is for each of these 8 hotels that I mentioned, for each step in the decision-making process, we first look at the mean differences between predicted probabilities of non-myopic and myopic guests, as well as the percent positive difference, which is what is the percent of times the predicted probability for non-myopic guest is greater than myopic. So the highlighted hotels actually show behavior that is consistent with what we were expecting for strategic guests. So the first step in the decision-making process, we can see that they are less likely to initially book a premium room as compared to the myopic guests, and more likely to more likely to click on the ad, and more likely to request a standby upgrade offer if they click on the banner ad. And the positive differences also support that. So with that, we can say that the percentage that we see, the estimated alpha value, the fraction, is actually, we can say that this we can interpret it as the percentage of strategic customers in the loyalty sample. So for hotels ENF, this percentage is relatively high. So about 40% of the loyalty group is actually depicting strategic behavior. And for G, it's less, 20%. And for the others, we do not have a strong conclusion. And this was for the weak form that I mentioned. For the strong form, the results were consistent. And so again, less likely to initially book a premium room and more likely to request a standby upgrade offer. Of course, because we made it really, I guess, strong conditions for this one, the percentages drop. So we can see kind of a range of strategic guests. And the final point I wanted to make is that, so, okay, this is great. Now hotels get a sense about how they would estimate the extent of the strategic behavior in their loyalty guests. But what would they do about this? What is the kind of the prescriptive step following this? So we wanted to devise a pricing policy that incorporates this nuanced customer mix. So hotels initially we thought could customize prices, the full prices even first between loyalty and non-loyalty guests. And then the standby upgrade offer could also be customized for loyalty versus non-loyalty guests. And then customers would arrive, um, and then the demand would be realized. So we incorporate the fractional strategic list, the loyalty versus the non-loyalty population, and come up with the pretty much the optimal pricing strategy for both the full prices and the standby price for loyalty versus non-loyalty guests. So jumping into the results, you see here that as the percent of strategic customers within loyalty group increases, how would this optimal pricing strategy compare against assuming all myopic or all strategic as we did on the first paper? So we can see that this customized strategy can actually make a big difference, up to about 19% against an all-over myopic policy versus 34% over an all strategic policy. And how does the pricing change? We basically, our optimal policy says that we need to, there again, two additional prices to differentiate between loyalty versus non-loyalty guests. This can significantly increase the revenue. It suggests a lower price, premium room price in the initial booking stage for the premium room. So non-loyalty customers, in other words, will be charged a higher price. Customers get a discount. But for the standby upgrade, a relatively lower discount on the upgrade, whereas for non-loyalty, it's an aggressive discount on the upgrade. And again, this additional price discrimination capability can increase revenues by up to 19 to 34%, the incremental revenue coming from the upgrades. And last point, quickly, is that what type of properties are really, we are observing the strategic behavior. We particularly, this EFG, we looked into the characteristics of these quite a bit, and we actually saw that these were upper scale hotels near major expressways or business areas. So they were more likely to act strategically compared to loyalty customers staying in more upper mid-scale or upscale hotels near attractions, convention centers, or hospital complexes. So it's like more business versus leisure type of behavior. So with that, let me stop here and stop sharing. Hopefully everything was clear with the connection, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Pelin, I wonder whether you observe repeated interactions between hotels and the customers, because I think lots of those behavior are probably driven by repeated, interactions. Like customers who book multiple times, right, to have a better understanding of like this upgrades. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, Dan. Thank you. So that's a great point. We actually wanted to analyze individual customer behavior, but unfortunately in this data set, all was well, but there were no identifiers. So we weren't able to track the same customers and the repeated interactions over time, which I think would so that's why we struggled quite a bit to find, okay, what is a not contaminated pool versus, so how do we differentiate between myopic and strategic? If we had access to a data set where we could actually observe the specific same customer over time, then I think we would be able to come up more easily with that strategic behavior.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, that answers my question.
Sure, perfect.
Thank you, Pelin. So we'll see you soon at the panel discussion.
At the panel, sure, we'll be happy to.
Ask more questions.
Thank you.
And you can have more thoughts probably by that time. Our next
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.